accelerated aging, accelerated entropy, and sickness is the rule of the roost here in the Matrix. They want you sick because when you're sick, you're manageable. They don't want you vibrant. They don't want you radiating life force. They sure as hell don't want you to ever awaken the Kundalini, because when the Kundalini awakens, it shows you that there are no limits to what you can do, ladies and gentlemen, that anything is possible, and that we have just been indoctrinated with these virus systems, these malware systems in our consciousness that keep us from being able to grasp onto the truth. We now live in a computer simulation type world, ladies and gentlemen. What do I mean by that? I mean that your mind has been filled with a bunch of data that is not accurate. And that inaccurate information that you've been indoctrinated with from a very young age has created the present moment you. And the present moment you is like a computer that's filled full of a bunch of nonsense programs. We are so far away from what we were designed to be that it's like we're living in a computer simulation. I mean, hell, we're constantly plugged into our computers. We're constantly checking our phones. We're constantly sending information back and forth to, you know, these websites that track our data, you name it. We are being plugged into this hive mind that has a lot to do with transhumanism. And I'm not talking about, you know, most people don't know what transhumanism is. In layman's terms, it's human beings merging with computers, actually having like microchips installed and upgrading the hardware of the body through computers, and like silicon chips and all sorts of just insane shit. That's what the New World Order wants. The New World Order wants us to merge with computers. It wants us to merge with technology, our actual bodies being integrated with microchips, you name it. And if you don't believe me, ladies and gentlemen, the information is all out there. Look at all the patents that Microsoft has. Look at patent W0-2020-060606. Again, do yourself a favor and look up Microsoft patent W0-2020-060606. Look at all the patents that Microsoft has utilizing 666. Look up all of their digital tattoo research, ladies and gentlemen. Look at all of the MIT articles on implantable data through, you know, like these liquid-filled nanoparticulate tattoo systems that you lay on your body, and it sends these tiny little diodes into your system that integrate into your biological flesh and cannot be taken out. So the idea that microchips are real, they've had these since the 50s, ladies and gentlemen, but the technology now is far superior to, you know, like a microchip that you could cut out. Now it's nanotechnology, and nanotechnology you can't just isolate inside your system and take it out. And this is what the plan of the New World Order is, ladies and gentlemen. They want you to think that you're obsolete. They want you to think that you're basically a mistake, that everything's going wrong in the world, you know, that you're the byproduct of slow evolution, and, you know, God isn't real. They want you to live in a disconnected, non-harmonic state so that they can come in and act like the saviors to save you from things like COVID-19 or bad health or all this other nonsense. They're promising us a technological advanced future through transhumanism, and I'm not even going to get into that, ladies and gentlemen. It's just insane what's going on right now. So I hope that these messages can serve as some type of gateway or portal into you realizing that there's a lot more to life, and what's most important in life is you taking care of yourself. Taking care of yourself, showing yourself self-love. Most people don't know what it's like to love themselves, and that's because their mind is so filled full of self-reflection and not good self-reflection. I'm talking about reflecting over, oh, my body image, it's so gross, or this or that, or I'm depressed, and wah, wah, wah. They've turned us into these bitches. We need to go in and get rid of the bitch-madeness. And we do that, ladies and gentlemen, by recreating our mind. You have to recreate your mind because your mind is not your own. And I know that may sound kind of controversial, and I know a lot of people don't like to accept that. But when you actually do the thoughtlessness exercises, when you actually do the inner temple exercise, when you actually do the motionlessness exercise instead of just thinking about doing them, when you actually start doing them, you start to realize that I'm not bullshitting you, and then I'm telling you the truth, that your mind is filled full of foreign installations, and you have what I like to call the chattering monkey. Your mind is constantly spooling and constantly and repetitiously repeating things, and you're not even aware of it because you operate on the fringes, the outermost layers of your conscious mind. You operate on a very, very minimal percent of your entire potential. And that's because when you have to go to work every day, when you're constantly stressed, when you're living in fear, when you're in a bad state of health from all the garbage food that you eat, when you're constantly breathing nanobots, when you have nanobots and all the metals on your skin and you don't ever wipe them off and clean yourself, ladies and gentlemen, you operate in a state of bad health. And when you're unhealthy, you only operate on like 2 gigabytes. And your potential is like 500,000 terabytes, and you're only operating on 2 gigabytes. You're only operating on the fringes, the outermost layers of your conscious mind. The matrix, to a large extent, when you operate within it, ladies and gentlemen, when you have to do all this shit every day, the obligations, you can only access a small percentage of your mind, and that small percentage of your mind doesn't ever allow you to realize that there's a ton of bullshit spooling through your mind, a lot of emotional content and images and symbols. I hope that makes sense. This is really important to grasp. But when you meditate, when you do a minimalistic meditation, when you try to do the thoughtlessness exercise, you get out of that typical day-to-day state of mind and you access more of your mind. And that part of your mind that you access through meditation, you cannot access while you're living in fear, while you're walking around the matrix, doing all the bullshit, trying to get things done, making ends meet. That's just survival consciousness. And survival consciousness doesn't allow you to access the bigger picture, the more of the unconscious mind, ladies and gentlemen, the subconscious. So when you meditate, you leave behind the bullshit consciousness of the matrix, and now you can finally have a bird's eye view of the bigger picture, and you can start to see that, wow, why do I have all of these thoughts moving through my head? Why do I feel this way? Why am I craving these foods when I exit my state of consciousness that I'm normally in the matrix? You can start to observe what's constantly there during the day, influencing your thoughts and your emotional state that you normally can't view because, again, you're in the fight or flight mechanisms of the matrix. I hope that makes sense. So when you're driving down the street in traffic, cussing at everybody and miserable with yourself, do you really think you're going to be able to access that meditative mindset? No. And when you're not accessing that meditative mindset, which allows you to have, again, a bird's eye view of the overall picture of your mind, you can't look at or come into contact with all of the bullshit that the Archon is feeding you, projecting into your consciousness, all of the emotional nonsense and the worries and the depression and all the bullshit. Then don't tell me you don't have it, because we all do. You are not above the mind control.